This story happened to me in my first year of university. It was in the second week of the first semester. As I remember it now, it was Tuesday, the 4th of September, 2001. Around 9 o'clock, the guys from our group and I gathered near the office indicated in the schedule and began to wait for the teacher. After waiting for about 10 minutes, we were about to disperse when suddenly a female silhouette appeared at the other end of a long corridor and moved towards us. When the silhouette approached, we saw that it was a pretty blonde of medium height. She was dressed in a strict business suit. Her hair was pulled back into a neat ponytail. On her feet were high-heeled shoes. She looked to be in her 20s. When she had about 50 meters to go before us, the guys and I argued who would approach her faster to get acquainted. While we were arguing, we heard from behind. "Good afternoon, guys. Are you OB Group 01? "Yes," we answered. "Please divide into groups among yourselves. I'm waiting for one half of the group in my office. The teacher will come to the second half of the group later," she said and went into the office. I studied a technical specialty, so most of the guys in the group were guys. We also had girls, but there were a minority of them, about 12 people for 100 people of the stream. There were about 5 girls in our group. In general, a large half of the group rushed after this blonde. When we entered the auditorium, it turned out that there was not enough space for everyone, and many guys left the room in upset feelings. I was one of the first to enter the classroom, and took a seat on the first desk, right in front of the teacher's desk. When the guys came out, the teacher turned to us. "Good afternoon again. My name is Yulia Genedyevna. I am your English teacher. I'll tell you straight, you are my first group after graduating from university. I think that we are all interested in productive work, and for some reason, I am sure that we will succeed. So, let's get to work." The teacher finished and started the lesson. The pair flew by unnoticed. About 15 minutes before the final bell, Yulia Genedyevna finished the lesson and said, "Guys, thank you for your attention. I think you are a good band, and we will succeed." I don't know where I had so much courage at that moment. In general, I got up from the table and gave out, "Thank you, Yuri Genedyevna, we also really liked you." After that, I sat down in my seat and felt a fever rush through me from excitement. Looking up, I saw a slight blush on the face of our young teacher. And maybe I said something wrong, I thought to myself. From this, my face turned completely red like a tomato, and at that moment, I heard a light laugh behind me. I was very embarrassed, but then I didn't regret anything. When we left the academic building, my classmate Pasha came up to me and said, "Well, you're a jerk. Why are you talking like that?" You can see that she was embarrassed. I answered him. "And what did I say wrong? She's really a very nice girl. What is my mistake?" To which Pasha silently went forward. After that lesson, I realized that I had fallen in love. In those years, I was devoid of critical thinking. I was an amorous young man. According to the schedule, we had English lessons on Tuesdays and Fridays in the first couple. I was looking forward to these lessons. I thought about her every minute. Somewhere in the depths of my soul, I clearly understood that nothing could ever happen between me and Yulia. At best, I will improve my English under the influence of these feelings. Of course, she is 21 years old, she is a university graduate, a teacher, and a prominent beauty. And me? Who am I? Yesterday's student of the 11th grade, penniless. Oh yeah. I completely forgot. I differed from the bulk of my fellow students in that I had a mobile phone. He will play one of the key roles in this story. At the beginning of the 2000s, not everyone could afford a mobile phone, let alone students. In the summer of 2000 of the first year, I graduated from school and decided to earn a mobile phone. Then, mobile communications actively penetrated the masses. Mobile operators offered tempting offers, such as a phone for 1 hryvnia, and so on. For some reason, I decided that it was time for me to connect to this world of freedom and innovation. All summer, I actively helped my family in collecting and further selling fruits from our garden. And on the 9th of August, 2000 of the first year, with parental help, I purchased my first mobile phone. As I remember it now, it was a Motorola T2288 with a contract from Kyivstar. I can talk about the development of mobile communications in those years for a long time, as I was fond of this direction. But now it's not about that. In our group, only I and two other guys had cell phones. So, back to those events. Days and weeks passed. Unlike other subjects, the whole group attended English lessons. The guys came to see Yulia Genadivna, so she really was a very cute creature. Communicating with my fellow students, I understood that everyone liked Julia, but no one dared to say anything about it. Everyone clearly understood that we were just students for her and nothing more. One day everything changed. One day, during a break between classes, when everyone left the classroom, including July, only me and one of my classmates, Sergei, remained in the audience. He came up to me and said, "Do you hear? Do you know her number?" "No. How should I know?" I answered. "So let's get to know him now." "You see, she left her phone on the table on purpose," Sergei said. "Why? What if she comes in now? What are we going to say to her?" I said carefully. "Andrei, she's a pretty girl, and our whole group likes her. Go stand on the lookout so that no one comes in, and I'll take care of it. It is necessary to act now or never," Sergei said. After that, he took his mobile phone from the teacher's desk and dialed his number on it. When he received the cherished digits of Julia's number, he immediately deleted his number from the list of dialed numbers and put the phone back in place. "Come on, give me her number," I said happily. "Take it and write it down. Just tell no one about it, okay?" Sergei said. "Of course," I replied, and began to write down her number with convulsive hands. All the remaining pairs flew by unnoticed, probably because it was Friday, or maybe because the cherished number warmed my soul. As I mentioned earlier, I clearly understood that my chances of being with Julia were zero, but feelings burned in my chest. By tradition, on Friday evening, I went to a rehearsal with my friend Vova. In those years, my former classmates and I put together a musical group and periodically rehearsed at Vova's wing. Vova was the author of the songs, and also provided us with a room for rehearsals. After the rehearsal, the guys and I liked to have a beer, but this time everyone went home somehow quickly. I was the last to leave. "You're kind of sad today, Andrew. What happened?" Vova asked. "It's nothing, Van. It's okay," I answered. "Hey, smartass, I've known you since you were a baby. Come on, tell it like it is." Vova insisted. I told Vova the whole story, about how I fell in love with my teacher, and how I got her phone number. "Ha, Andrew. So let's call her now. I have unlimited money from my dad's company, I can call wherever I want," Vova said and reached into his pockets with his mobile phone. "Vovan, what if she starts punching what and how? I haven't had enough trouble at uni yet. Just calm down. I'm telling you that the phone is registered to a legal entity, she won't know anything." Okay, dial it," I said, and gave Vova Yulia's number. Vova quickly dialed the cherished numbers and turned on the dial via speakerphone. The tubes cut long beeps. A minute later, I heard a familiar voice, "Hello." Vova immediately hung up. It's hard to say what I experienced then. I was already shaken up. "You see, nothing happened, and you were afraid," said Vova. "Okay, Vovan, I'm going home, otherwise tomorrow morning I have to go with my family on business," I said, shook Vova's hand, and moved towards the house. When I got home, I couldn't sleep for a long time. I was tormented by thoughts about Yulia. It was especially painful to realize that you were just a student for her. What can I give her? I have at least 5 more years to study, and then another 5 years to work for a penny, until I reach at least some level. I couldn't sleep. I turned on the TV and immediately got on the music channel M1, where Quasimodo's aria from the musical Notre Dame de Paris was playing. The song was in Russian, performed by the soloist of the group Dancing Minus, Vyacheslav Petkin. Bitch. And then this love. How everything shook me. I said to myself and turned off the TV. Closing my eyes, I started counting to 100 to fall asleep, and finally fall asleep. The next day flew by in a flash. In the morning, I helped my parents around the house. Then I sat down to do my homework. I didn't have time to fully immerse myself in my studies when my cell phone rang. Vova called. Great, in Romeo. How are you feeling? Vova asked in a cheerful voice. It's fine, I sat down to learn lessons. What did you want? Yes, I wanted to let you know that I have a date with Yulia today. But don't rush to scold me, don't stand there. With another Julia. What other one? I asked. In short, I will be brief. Yesterday, when you went home, a girl unsubscribed from an unknown number introduced herself with Yulia. As it turned out, this is your teacher's girlfriend, her name is also Julia. And today, we have already called her and arranged a meeting at the center at 1800. So that's it. Wish me luck. Will she definitely be alone, or with my teacher? There should be one, and then we'll see. You know it doesn't scare me, Vova said. Okay, Vovin, I need to learn my lessons. I wish you a great evening. Keep me posted. Thanks, buddy. In touch? Vova said and hung up. After this conversation, I was almost torn apart by happiness from emotions. I banged my fist on the table, about which my stationery jumped up and rolled off the table. Well, how is it? Vova is going to meet this Yulia now. And maybe mine will be with her. Damn, but what is she like for me? That's enough. We need to pull ourselves together and do our homework. I'd rather finish early today and go for a bike ride or play the guitar, I reassured myself. And so it happened. I quickly finished my lessons and rushed to ride a bike. I went to the nearest railway station in order to meet and hold trains. I've loved doing this since I was a kid. Standing on the platform, I imagined that I was waiting for my train. Here he is, he will come soon, and I will go far, far away to my dream. In the middle of the next week, Vova called me and told me that he had met with this Yulia, and they had a good time. First, we sat in a cozy cafe, and then we walked around the city center. In general, it somehow seemed that my teacher and this is Yulia, fellow students and best friends. Vova managed to find out that to the heart of my Yuri Genadivna is currently free. So she just recently broke up with a guy. But Vova warned that according to her friend, Yulia Genadyevna is very picky, and is unlikely to want to deal with a student, especially from her group. Days and weeks passed. The winter session has come. I will say right away, I passed the English bill without any problems. And in general, the rest of the exams were passed on time. Vova, meanwhile, was having an affair with his Yulia. I always strongly asked him not to give me away under any circumstances, otherwise I'm screwed. I was not worried about the fact that I would not pass the English exam, the summer session. The only thing that upset me was the thought of what would happen when Yulia found out how I found out her phone number, and in general. I was very ashamed to admit my feelings. One Saturday afternoon, the guys and I had a good drink after rehearsal. When I came home after that, I fell on the bed and couldn't sleep. Thoughts of Yulia were spinning in my head. It's true that if you drink, then only with the phone turned off. But this time, vodka gave me courage, and I decided to text Julia. I wrote the lines from the song, and day and night, only she is in front of me. And I'm not praying to the Madonna, but to her alone. Wait. Don't leave me a crazy dream. Beauty turns a man into a slave. Just a few minutes later, I received an answer. Who are you? What are these lines for? I continued to write sums, but already the lines from Yesenen's verse "Who am I? What am I? Only a dreamer, who lost a bruise in the darkness, and I love you only by the way, along with others on earth." This time I received an incoming call in response, but once again I was afraid. I didn't pick up the phone. I left it at that and went to bed. Once, at one of the English classes, the guys from my group behaved inappropriately, talked to each other, and did not pay attention to Yulia Genadivna's remarks. As a result, she rushed out of the office into the corridor, in upset feelings. Then I got up and loudly addressed the guys. "Hey guys, don't you understand that we need this first of all, and not her? I see you are all very brave with a young girl. I'll see how you behave in math or physics." I was not physically strong and could have been hit on the forehead then. But at that moment, the feelings of fear and uncertainty receded from me. To convey these emotions of mine were transmitted to the guys, and they fell silent. Then I left the classroom and saw Yulia at the end of the corridor. She stood by the window and wiped her tears. I went up to her and addressed her. "Yulia Genadivna, please excuse us. I talked to the guys, and they didn't promise to change their behavior." To which she replied that everything was fine, and she would return to the audience now. And so it turned out. 10 minutes later, Julia returned and the lesson continued. I don't remember any more such incidents. The end of the second semester was approaching, and the session was nearing. By tradition, at the end of May, a music festival was held in our city, during which there was a parade of balloons. I have liked these aerial giants since childhood, and I have never seen them in real life, but only on TV. That year I firmly decided that I would go at least to see them in real life. The festival was held in the central park of the city. A huge stage was set up there, where musical groups from our country and neighboring countries performed. And nearby, several huge balloons filled their shells in the clearing, which gave a special beauty in the evening. It was very impressive to see how the band Hands Up performs on stage, and next to it, illuminated by the flashes of gas burners, there are huge multicolored shells of balloons. My little sister and I went up to one of the balloons and asked the pilot if he could lift us into the sky and how much it would cost. To which he replied to me, "Yes, no problem, we can climb 50 meters, this is the length of the rope to which Rostat is tied. This pleasure costs 5 hryvnia per person." My sister and I agreed, and 10 minutes later, we were floating in the sky above the stage, where at that moment, the plasma band was performing with the track Sweet Surrender. How cool it was! But this idyll was interrupted by a phone call. When I took out my phone and saw who was calling, my whole body was pierced through as if by lightning. Yulia was calling. I picked up the phone and heard, "Well, hello. The day after tomorrow you have an English exam, and you have already failed it automatically." I didn't have time to answer her as she hung up. I did not call back, as I was in the basket of the balloon. And there would be 0 cents from my callback. On the contrary, this call would have angered her even more. When I landed, I dialed Vova, who immediately told me, "Sorry, my friend, yesterday I drunkenly told my Yulia the whole truth about how I got to your teacher, but she promised me not to tell your Yulia anything. Andrew, I'm sorry again, but it happened. Come on, don't worry. I will say only one thing: she deceived you. My teacher has already recruited me and recommended that I not even come to the exam, since I have not already passed it to her automatically." To which Vova replied, "My friend, this is my joint, and I will fix it at any cost. Don't worry, and boldly go to the exam." Hall Vova, and hung up. A day later, on Tuesday, I came to the English exam. Yulia Genadivna pretended that nothing had happened, and she didn't notice me. I got a ticket that was not easy. I managed to answer all the questions in writing. In the end, I got a solid B. After the exam, the guys and I decided to celebrate it in a bar near the academic building. After drinking a couple of glasses of beer, I relaxed a little and forgot about the previous moral tension. As I remember now, the song Sasha Prozik sounded in the bar, "I Just Really Need You." This song made me think of Yulia. When we were about to disperse, I saw through the window how Yulia left the building and went towards the bus stop on Central Avenue. I abruptly blew up and chased after her. Almost in front of my nose, a trolleybus drove up to the stop, in which Yulia sat down, and he left. I stood out of breath at the bus stop and didn't know what to do. The next day, I went to the English language building in the morning. On the way, I bought 5 long white roses. Standing about 50 meters from the building, I began to wait for Yulia. The clock showed 10 o'clock in the morning, but it never appeared. Then I decided to go all in and went to the core. Going inside, I quickly went up to the second floor to our auditorium. I pulled the handle, and to my surprise the door was unlocked. I walked into the auditorium and saw that there was no one in it. The faculty desk was also empty. Damn, where is she? What should I do? I thought. In the end, I decided to leave the flowers on her desk and put a note to them that would tell about my feelings for her. I put the flowers on her desk, shook my desk, tore a piece of paper out of your notebook, and started writing. I don't remember exactly, but there were the following lines. Beloved Julia, I soberly assess all my chances and understand who I am, and that now I can't give you anything but my feelings. Surely all this will seem silly to you. I want you to know that I need you. I love you. When I finished writing, I carefully folded a piece of paper and put it under the bouquet and was about to leave when she entered the office. Goosebumps ran through my body. Andrei, what are you doing here? Yulia said in surprise. Julia, I wanted to tell you. Here, read it please, I said and handed her this sheet. She walked quickly and sat down at the table with a deep exhalation. Andrei, I've been aware of your feelings for a long time. That long before your friend Vova told us everything. I noticed the way you look at me in class. I also remember very well how you stood up for me in front of the guys. You're a good guy, but understand that with all my desire, I won't be able to love you. You're a decent person, but you can't order your heart. And your young age has nothing to do with it. Moreover, we do not have such a big difference of only 5 years. I am sure you will find your happiness. Okay, I heard you. Take at least these roses. I give them to you from the bottom of my heart, I said and left the audience. I will say so that after this meeting, we did not see each other. Dressed 10 years later, I met Yulia in one of the city parks. She was walking in the park, holding the hand of a little girl who looked like her. A tall, sturdy man was holding the child's other hand. I realized that this was her family, and they were happy. And 2 years later, I found out that Julia and her family had emigrated to Canada. I recently found her in one of the social networks and sent a request, friends. We sometimes correspond and congratulate each other on holidays and birthdays.